Hi everyone, welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Tuesday, February 13th, 2024, and this is episode 277. I'm Carol, also known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry, and I'm coming to you from my home in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada, where we are enjoying a beautiful sunny day today. There is a cool wind blowing, so it's a bit nippy outside, but it is toasty warm inside. I'm feeling especially toasty at the moment because I'm wearing my Strand Wanderer. This is a long asymmetrical triangular scarf that I knit last year from a special skein of Wollmeise. And I thought I would take advantage of the good light today to get some FO pics. And since I already had it on, I thought I might as well leave it on for the episode too. So we'll see how long it lasts. It's definitely warm and cozy. Maybe a little too warm and cozy. We'll see. So I hope you're all doing well, that you've had a good couple of weeks since we last spoke. I feel like it's been longer than that, but I think it's because I recorded a good chunk of my last regular episode a few days in advance. And so it's actually been about 2.5 weeks since I've sat down to talk to you. And I have plenty to show you, including 3 finished projects. But before we get to those, I have a winner to announce. For the final month of the Yarn of the Month Club Make-Along, which took place last year. So there were 13 finished projects for December, and random number generator chose project number 6, which was a pair of socks by Knits and Reads, who is Susan from Colorado, USA. So congratulations, Susan, you have won up to $20 US in patterns that are giftable on Ravelry. So please send me a private message and I will get those patterns into your inbox as soon as I can. So thank you to Susan and everyone else who took part in that make-along. And if you're interested in making along again this year, I'm hosting some more Mals in the A Stitch in Time podcast Ravelry group. One is a year-long chatter thread called Smash the Stash, in which we chat about what we're making from our yarn, pattern, and fiber stash. And also there will be 4 quarterly make-alongs. The one that's taking place right now is sweater weather. So if you're interested in joining in, just head on over to the Ravelry group, read the first post in each of the pertinent threads, and that will tell you everything you need to know to participate. So, as I mentioned, I have 3 finished projects this week, or this episode, I guess I should say, and they're all socks. Here's the first pair. These are my Scrappy Advent Socks 2022, and I knit them from leftovers from the Fiber Nymph Dye Works 2022 Holiday Countdown Collection, The Art of Contrast. As you will see in a few minutes, I used the bulk of that yarn to make mitered squares for a blanket, and then whatever was left over I put into these socks. So this is a toe-up 64 stitch vanilla sock with a German short row heel. So I used color 10 for the toes, heels, and cuffs because the color was very close to the plain vanilla yarn that I'm using for the borders on my mitered squares. And so I thought it would be too close, so I thought that was a perfect use for it. Set off all the colored stripes. And so you'll see I started with day 1, worked my way all the way up to day 24, and day 10 could not have landed at a better spot. I was able to knit the heel and the stripe all in one go. So I'm very happy with how these turned out. I'm going to bring them in a little closer so you can see the colors better. So many pretty colors. Everything from earthy browns to bright neon green and pink. and everything in between. So I am happy to have these finished. I am going to put them away now though and bring them out next December to wear when I wear all of my holiday and winter themed socks. And that's what I've ended up doing with all my other Advent socks, just put them in there. And so even though they aren't necessarily Christmassy colors, I kind of consider them Christmassy socks, or at least Advent socks. So they will be going away until December, which is a shame that I won't wear them before that, but that's okay. It'll give me something to look forward to. So I'm just going to slip another pair of socks on sock blockers, and then I will show you some more. And I've just dropped one sock, so one sec, gonna pick it up. Very slippery, slid right off my lap. Okay, next up, I have my first pair from my own personal sock yarn club for this year. I knit the Sweater Weather socks by, I know I wrote it down here, Tabitha Gandy. And I use the Sweater Weather colorway of classic sock from Polka Dot Creek yarns. And then the complimentary heels, toes, and cuffs came as part of a sock set that I bought. And this color is called Spruce. And in my finished projects pictures, it looks very blue, teal blue, but as you can see, it's more of a teal green. I'll have to see if I can get a better picture of them. Some colors are just really, really hard to photograph. That's what I found with this scarf. This is like a turquoise blue, but it always looks more royal on camera for some reason. Anyway, this is a top-down sock. I did the 66 stitch size. I was worried, no, 68 stitch, pardon me, 68 stitch size. I was worried that the cabling might bring the sock in too much if I knit my usual 64 stitches, and I think it was a good move. They fit really nicely. And in the pattern, there is a complimentary, I think it's an afterthought heel. I subbed in a traditional heel flap and gusset, and then I did my usual rounded toe. And in the pattern, the ribbing is done with the same yarn as the main sock, but I decided to use the mini there. And I had, probably just a gram or so of that left over. I was thinking I'd be okay. I wasn't sure, but I was able to squeeze out the heels, toes, and cuffs for both socks out of one 20-gram mini. The sock set did come with a second mini in a pumpkin-y orange colorway called Spice. So I've set that aside, and I used just over half of the main color. So what I'll do when I knit the yarn again is I'll start and do socks from the toe up, and that way I'll be able to use as much of the main color as possible without running short at the toe. So I'll bring this in closer so you can see the really fun colorway here with its specks of green and orange and brown. And then what I'm going to do is flip the sock around on the sock blocker so that you can see the cable in all its glory. So there are these little mini cables running down each side of the sock in the front and the back, and then this really lovely ribbed cable that runs all the way down the back. And despite how complicated or complex it looks, this was a super easy pattern. The cabling on this part only took place every 12 rounds, I think. And so really there was very little cabling that actually had to be done, other than all these little one-by-one cables. Sometimes I will do the twist one left and twist one right, which then you don't need to cable at all. But this time I actually just cabled them. I just I think it's because I didn't bother stopping to go look up how to do. I always forget how to do one of them. Can't remember if it's the right or the left. It's a little bit trickier. And so I just started cabling them and just carried on. So lovely, lovely socks. Really happy with how these turned out. And I look forward to wearing them. Not sure when. I'm continuing on with my sock season throughout March, where I'll be showing you and then wearing some socks from the past, but maybe these will come out again next fall. Again, something to look forward to. And finally, I finished my pie for second breakfast socks. This is another Fiber Nymph Dye Works yarn. It's the Bounce base with a coordinating mini that I used for the heels in the bedazzled base, which is the base that has the sparkles. Bounce is, I think, an 80-20 superwash merino nylon. So this is one of Lisa's Middle Earth inspired colorways, and it is one of her pie colorways, which means that the stripes are, well, I was going to say they're totally random. That's not exactly true. The stripes are based on, or the proportions of the stripes are based on the number pi. And so every color is dyed to be, I always have a hard time explaining it. I'll go back to my usual explanation. This second stripe, which you can hardly see there, that's 1. So that's the length that's allotted to color 1, and it knit a stripe that was about this long. This is 3, so this stretch of pink is 3 times longer than this stretch of tan. This is 4, because pi is 3.14. So this stretch of purple is 4 times longer than this little stretch of tan, and so on. So there are some fun color names for the 5 different stripes in this yarn. It's based again on the second breakfast. Raspberry scone pink, then nice crispy sausage brown. You can see that a little bit better here than up here because it's a longer stripe. Fresh berries, which is a variegated colorway. This one here is seedy bread tan, and then butter and honey gold. So this was sock number 1. And I did, as I mentioned, had a mini that I bought as part of just a grab bag of minis. And I thought it, even though the pink's not quite the same, I thought it complemented this yarn well. And I'm not sure if the light is picking up the sparkle in it, but it is a sparkly pink. And so, and all the way down, you can see there's just a teeny bit, or teeny, I was gonna say teeny weeny bit of the nice crispy sausage brown here. And then that's where this sock started and worked its way down. Now, as I explained before, because all the numbers are based on pi, there are some instances where there is a 0, and if that's the case, then that color doesn't show up in the sequence. And so you'll notice there's quite a long stretch without any purple. And that's because the purple should have gone, let's see, here, but there was a 0. And then here, but there was a 0. And so there's just a long stretch without any of the purple. But then I got plenty of it in the feet. So it's just a fun way to dye up yarn, very unique to Lisa. I think it's a really cool concept, as she has had all sorts of different pie colorways over the year. But this is only the second one that I've knit up. And I have one more in my bin, so one of these days I will knit up that one too. But yeah, now again, I'll probably just tuck these away until next fall. But had a really fun time knitting up all the colors, and I had taken actually this pair and my sweater weather socks with me on my recent trip to South America, and so there's lots of nice memories knit up in both of those pairs too. Especially this one, because I knit a lot of the first sock, driving around or riding around on the bus through Rio de Janeiro, our last day in Brazil. All right, I'm gonna take a sip of tea. I continue to love this Mountains cup. The light is shining on it from everywhere, so it's hard to see, but love, love, love this cup. So when you finish a pair of socks, of course you have to cast on a new pair. And I pulled out this yarn from my February bag for my personal sock yarn club. And this yarn might look familiar to you. I attempted to use this last year to knit the Tits Up Socks by Nancy Wheeler, but I didn't like how the yarn was, what's the word I'm looking for, obscuring the stitch pattern. And so I ripped them out, and I actually have another sock set aside to make those socks later this year. But I did want to use this yarn. I've had it for a long time. I'm not sure how many years, but many, many, many. And so I decided to put it aside to knit this year. So this yarn here is from Pigeon Roof Studios. I do not know if they dye any longer or not. This is their 80-10-10 Superwash Merino Cashmere Nylon base. And it is the Bitten colorway. And then I have, or had I should say, this partial skein in my sock yarn leftovers. It's handmade in Casbah. And this is the ebony colorway, so it's like a dark, dark chocolate brown. And it is almost an 80-10-10. It's an 81% merino, 9% cashmere, 10% nylon base. So they're very similar base, very similar weight. And I just think they go together perfectly. So then the question was, do I cast on a pair of patterned socks with this yarn, or do I do a plain stockinette sock? And in the end, I decided, since the reason I had ripped out my last pair was because the pattern was obscured, I decided let's just do a plain stockinette sock and let the yarn shine. And so that's what I've done. So I cast on 64 stitches, did a 2x2 rib for 16 rounds. That's my usual go-to. And then, as you can see, I've just been knitting plain stockinette. And I think the yarn is knitting up really pretty. That tail keeps getting in the way. And then I'm going to do a short row heel from the brown yarn too. And maybe a toe. I haven't decided about the toe yet, but definitely cuff and heel will be contrasting or complementary. And one reason I want to do a short row heel is that I can then just carry on with the yarn and it will keep doing whatever it's doing throughout the whole sock. When you do a heel flap and gusset with a variegated yarn, often the patterning of how the yarn is knitting up gets muddled up at the gusset and you end up with a lot more pooling. So I'm just gonna let it keep doing what it's doing. I like the way the colors are distributed. I thought this might do more like a micro stripe, but it's not, as you can see, but I really like the way it's knitting up. So I also thought this would be a good colorway to work on in February because of Valentine's Day, which is tomorrow. So happy Valentine's Day to all of you. Hope you get to spend it with someone you love, whether it be a romantic loved one or otherwise. My loved one is going to be away. He's going away overnight for work, so we're actually going to go out for dinner tonight and celebrate. Not that we need a artificial holiday to do that, but it's kind of a fun thing anyway. It gives you a good excuse to go out and do something. Okay, so also I have been working on my mitered squares for my blanket of cheer. So I just thought, I mean, you've seen a lot of these before. I think that was I'm gonna grab my socks here so I can see. Yeah, this was the last color. The green, that was the second to last stripe, I'd already used in 2 socks. I only had to knit the stripe into the sock. I've got pink squares. I think I only had to knit 2 pink squares because I had already used it before for another square. What other ones have you seen? Oh, this blue stripe, I ended up using the yarn from this mini skein. I used it in 1 mitered square, but I also used it as complementary heels for a pair of socks. So I only had enough of this color to do 1 mitered square. And then there's the brown ones. So I think that's the last ones that I hadn't done the last time I spoke to you. So now all of my plain squares are knit, although I think there's going to be a few more that are going to come from mini skeins that I got with some sock sets, but I will knit those up when I get around to knitting those socks or deciding that I want to make the squares out of those striped yarns. And so the next step is to start adding in some self-striping yarns to these. But I haven't done that yet. Once I finished the solids, I put this project away. What I am thinking is I might go ahead and do the borders on these finished squares that I haven't done yet, but then that sounds incredibly boring. And so maybe what I'll do is alternate doing a new square and doing the border on an old square, and maybe that way it'll be more appealing, because I think part of what's made me not pick that project up since is just the idea of knitting a bunch of off-white garter stitch borders around some squares is not that appealing. That's the least fun part of this project. Another thing that has prevented me from working on that, though, and probably more of the main reason, is because I have been able to pick up my 2 sweater works in progress. Now that I finished the Killer Queen pullover, which I showed you on my last episode, I've been going gung-ho on my 2 current sweater works in progress. So first one is Owen by Jennifer Wood of Woodhouse Knits. The back looks like that. And the sleeve looks like that. And the front looks like that. And I am knitting mine out of Eco Tweed Worsted from Estelle. This is colorway Q42406. No, 40. Yeah, 406. So I don't have my glasses on, so it's a little fuzzy. And it's called Red. And if you look closely, you can see some red and blue and yellow flecks in there. I have some progress pictures of the sweater on my Ravelry page. By the way, all of my projects will be linked in the show notes. And to find all of that, if you're on YouTube, if you look below the video, you'll see where it says more and there's 3 dots beside it. Click on more. That expands the description, and then in there you will find links to my the Ravelry group and all the projects that I talk about. So anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, I've tried to take a picture of this too, and it comes out, even here it looks like a rusty red, and it's not as, it's a cooler red than it looks in the pictures. But reds can be really, really hard to photograph. So I actually put this on an extra needle this morning and tried it on, and I really like how it's fitting. So I've got quite a bit done. I'll show you the front. I'm going to hold it up there so you can see I've finished this front cable here. Look how nice it looks. And then that will also run down the length of each sleeve. And then the back is just like cable heaven. Oh good, I'm glad the light is showing that so well. So you're doing this whole series of cables, and you start in the middle, and then every so often you add in another cabled section so that it forms this slanted design. And I'm going to bring that in more closely so you can see what those cables look like. So it's like a garter stitch cable. Well, it's not, it is a garter stitch cable, but it's bordered by 2 lines of stockinette. So it's definitely got a lot of texture. It kind of reminds me of DNA. That's what I think of. And then it's separated by these twisted stitch columns. So loving working on this. 2 problems. I'm cabling without a cable needle. And I find when I have to go to cable, I end up pushing the stitches with this, my pointer finger here, onto the end of the needle. And it was getting quite tender. I actually had to take a break for a few days because it was so tender I couldn't work on it anymore. It's not too bad. I can feel it a little bit, so I'm trying to be more cautious. I'm also finding some arm pain is too strong a word, but some discomfort in my arm. And I think it's just the using larger needles and manipulating the stitches. I'm also knitting this on a fairly small needle for this yarn just to get gauge. Oh, and look, I'm using my new stitch stoppers. Aren't they cute? Anyway, I think just the manipulating the stitches, it takes more effort than it does to knit some other things. And so I'm trying to be mindful of that. I don't want to overdo it. On the other hand, like I just want to work on this whenever I get a chance. Because it does have like a bunch of charts and you have to really keep track of which row you're on. It's not a project I can just, sit and knit while I'm chatting with people or in the car or anything like that. So it has its time and place. But this is often what I find myself working on in the evenings, where I'm more likely to choose something simpler in the morning when I'm just waking up. And my other sweater that I've been working on is called Coffee Break by Jose Paquin. She is You and I Knit. Again, not a great photocopy, but you get the idea. And I call mine tea break because I don't really drink coffee. And I'm knitting mine out of 2 colors of Lannis Light by Barocco. This is color 78126 Cayenne Pepper, and this is 7800 Snow Day. And here's how it's looking so far. You will see that I've got more on it than the last time I showed you. And last time, I think I had 3 or 4 of these white stripes done. And I didn't like the way it was looking on the side where you change colors. And so I ripped back to the armhole separation and I cast on an extra stitch, and then I'm purling that stitch instead. And that's how it looks on where the colors don't join. There's still a jog where they do. But I feel like it's less noticeable. And so that's just a really easy way. You can see that definitely there's a jog, but it's fine. It doesn't bother me being on the side like that, and with that faux seam, I just feel like that kind of breaks that transition up a little bit. Now, I also tried this sweater on this morning, and it fits. It basically fits with 0 ease, which is that was what went into my size selection. The pattern notes that it can be done with 0 to several inches of positive ease. I chose the 0 ease, and it fits beautifully. In fact, these raglans line up really nicely where they're supposed to be. I'm just hoping that when all is said and done that I'm happy with the sizing. You do increase the body to make it slightly A-lined, which I think I'm gonna like. The thing that's given me a little bit of pause is I'm a little bit concerned about where my underarm is landing. And I'm wondering if I should have done a little bit more before splitting for the sleeves. So what I'm going to do, I have this much left in one cake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, when I get to the end of this, I'm going to break the white yarn, and then I'm going to start knitting the sleeves, and I'm going to try it on with the sleeves, and I'm thinking I might even block it. And what I might even do is, before I even get to that point, I might even just put this on some waste yarn, block it, and just see how it comes out. It's not a superwash wool, and so sometimes those don't have as much stretch and give as superwash wools. So that actually is probably would be a better idea, is before I even go any further, put this on some waste yarn, block it, just make sure it's going to be comfortable, and then go from there. I'm also concerned both yarns are a little bit prickly, and I'm hoping that they soften up with washing too. So we'll see. But yeah, that might not be a bad idea. I might even do that this afternoon, and maybe even be able to lay it out in the sun for a little while, start it drying. I don't want to go and do too much more on it if I'm not going to be happy with the fit, because it would be an easy fix for me to go back and just knit a few more rounds and start that body over. I'd rather do that than end up with a sweater that's not going to fit me. So, as heartbreaking as it would be, because it's pretty fine. As you can see, the yarn is like a light fingering, and you know, it takes a lot of rows to get an inch out of there. Probably about eight rounds or so to an inch. So not a fast knit, except that it is stockinette. That goes pretty quickly. Another thing I've been working on is not knitting related, and I meant to bring in the box. Hang on a sec. I'm gonna go warm up my tea. It's getting cool anyway, and then I'll come back and show you what else I've been working on. So for the past week or so, I've been working on this puzzle. It's part of the Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady series by Edith Holden. And you might remember back in the fall, I was working on autumn. So I figured before winter is over, I should pull out the next one in the series. I actually planned to start it right after Christmas, but never got around to it. This one has been working up much more quickly than the autumn one did, I think because it's very addicting, and I find myself thinking, oh, I'll just put in a few pieces, and I know an hour later I'm still sitting there. I will just bring this up. There's a paper insert that shows you the whole thing, and it's a little bit bigger so you can get an idea. So it mostly features birds and plants, but you can see there are a couple of hares, lots and lots of birds, lots and lots of plants. And I am almost finished. I'm at the point where I just have like little sections to finish, and plus some odd ones that go around. I'll probably pop a picture in here of where I'm at, but this should be done, I would guess, by definitely this week I'll be able to finish that up. So that's been fun. Other than that, up and coming. So yesterday I got a email newsletter from Lisa K. Ross of Paper Daisy Creations announcing a new mystery cowl make-along. And it's called the Line Dance M-Cowl. It begins on March 6th, and a clue will come out for 4 weeks beginning March 6th, and then it'll be whatever, 13th I guess is the next one, and so on. And it will, like her last two mystery cowls, will use mini skeins, and I think the most you need is 106 meters. I think that's color 5, and so not every mini skein set is suitable. And I haven't yet decided whether I'm going to purchase a set or whether I'm going to see if I can find something in my stash. That's where I'm leaning. We'll have to see what I can find. But there is a code on the newsletter, but also on the Ravelry pattern page. There's a code that's good till February 16th for, I think it's 60% off the purchase price. So if you're interested, go check out. I think she also has a website. So she's Paper Daisy Creations. I don't know off the top of my head what the website is. If I think of it, I will put it in the show notes. But yeah, if you're interested in joining in, you can get that early bird discount. So yeah, looking forward to that. Lately we've had quite a bit of family time. The weekend, well, I guess it was the weekend before I put my last episode out, but the weekend after I had recorded my episode, we'd gotten together with my sisters who live in town here and their spouses to celebrate the winter birthdays. So we gathered over at one of my sister's homes. We all brought appetizers and had a very nice get together. And then I think I've lost track of time. It was either that weekend, the next day, or maybe the next week. Our younger son came over with his girlfriend for happy hour one day, so that was good. Friday night we went and tried a new restaurant in town here with our older son and his wife, and her or their friend, her maid of honor. So that was fun. And then yesterday, no, today's Tuesday, so Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, Cameron went over and watched the football game, the Super Bowl, with our son-in-law. And then I went over just around halftime and brought a salad, and he had made some braised some brisket or something. I can't remember what it was, but we had that for dinner. So then I stayed and watched the end of the game. I'm not a big football fan, but it was a close game and actually even entertaining for a non-football lover like me. And I actually finished up my second sock while I was watching, and then I had nothing to knit for the last bit. Oh well, I survived. Okay, just look at my notes, see if there's anything else. Oh, I think I mentioned we're going to go out for dinner tonight for Valentine's, because Cameron will be gone for the next couple days. And then Friday morning we are driving up to my mom's and staying the weekend with her. It's family day here on Monday. So we're going to go, Cameron's taking Friday off. We're going to stay with her through Sunday, come home Sunday afternoon, and then have the day free on Monday before Cameron goes back to work. So looking forward to that. Apparently, they have a ski hill, cross-country ski hill just north of town, and I think last year, I'm sure I mentioned we'd gone snowshoeing there. So depending on how much snow there is, we might do that again. There has not been a lot of snow this year. It's been a very, very odd year for weather. Apparently there is some sort of activity day on the Saturday morning, so we may try and partake in that. Not really sure. Remains to be seen, but looking forward to just kind of a mini getaway, and always enjoy seeing my mom, visiting with her. So that's what's coming up. And I think that's it. Oh, I forgot to put something good. You know it's something good? I don't think I mentioned this before, but I have, or maybe I did. Can't remember. I know something good is my timer is gonna go off any minute now. I have some broccoli cheddar soup in the crock pot, and that's what I'm having for lunch. So I know it's good. Sometimes I make it with like half cauliflower and half broccoli. This time I just had broccoli on hand. So I'm looking forward to lunch. I'm gonna make some biscuits to go with it. So that's something good. All right, I will see you again in a couple of weeks, at least for a regular episode, but be sure to check on Sundays for sock season. I am planning to put out episodes till the end of March, and I have 2 more already kind of recorded and uploaded and ready to go. So check for a new episode of sock season this coming Sunday. So take care until I see you again. Thank you as always for watching and for all of your kind comments. And yeah, have a great couple of weeks. Bye for now.